Speaking of finals, obviously Ronnie put Carter away in the end after a very strong start. There was a fair bit of talk from Ronnie about getting in his head and trying to make him lose his bottle and all this sort of thing. What do you make of that? I mean, Ronnie says so many controversial things almost every match, but
yeah, I was in comms at the end, and basically as soon as the last ball was potted, I was in my car going home because I knew I'm going to Leicester today, and I knew I had the podcast to record and everything, so I wanted to get out there quickly. But I seen his interview with Rob on social media this morning, and it wasn't the best interview, let's put it that way, in terms of towards Ali Carter. He was a bit like, it's almost like and the way he was playing all week is, I mean, it's bordering on, taking the mickey out of your opponent, the way he's playing, the balls he's going for. And he's almost like, well, I'm just going to do what I want. See, if you can't handle it, then fair enough. I'm just going to play this game. But Carter stood up to him in the afternoon.
He did very
he
well.
played and then at night, Ronnie had to change his game because that wasn't going to work. Keep playing like that.
Yeah, he said after the Hawkins game that I dragged him down to my level. He basically made dismissive comments about almost every match he played. But it's funny. You said before, after you get beaten, you're not in the mood for interview and you just give one-word answers. But Ronnie's the only one that does that when he has one.
Yeah, I know. The thing is, it's 7-7. Ali Carter potted a red and didn't get on the pink into the middle. If he got on that pink, he'd have gone 8-7 up instead of going 8-7 behind. Ronnie went 8-7 up. Ali kind of weakened then. He did. He kind of fell away completely. But if Ali had gone 8-7, I mean, they were literally millimeters away from Ali could have been 8-7 up, and it might have been different.
Ali Carter scored very heavily all week, 9 centuries in the tournament, which is the most anyone's made in a single Masters tournament. What do you think about where he's at now?
Best I've seen him play. Yesterday afternoon was the best I've seen him play. It was very impressive.
Has it made you think about him as a potential sort of world champion,
He's absolutely, he's going to be a contender. But the thing with it, playing against Ronnie, especially in the long matches, you've got to be on it the whole time. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's like Ronnie goes 8-7 up. You've got to still be there mentally to keep up with him. And Ali didn't. He sort of fell away quite quickly. Yeah. Ronnie's kind of like, he wears you down and wears you down and wears you down. It's very difficult, and at the Crucibles, it's even harder. It's even longer matches.
I was going to say, trying to stay with him over like 33 frames or something, it's a hell of an ask, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, we've now all seen Ronnie's quotes from his press conference and various things he said about Ali Carter specifically. It's a bit of a strange one, this, Stephen. Obviously, it's between the two of them, but one thing you can say is it's going to be a pretty weird atmosphere next time they meet. You'd think.
Yeah, I mean, it is between the two of them, and obviously there is bad blood there. There's no doubt about it, and it's gone back quite a long way. Obviously known each other a long time. You think how is it going to impact on them for the rest of the season as far as the snooker's concerned? I don't think it'll affect Ronnie at all. I think these sort of things just sort of brush off Ronnie. But I think Carter, is going to be careful that this sort of thing doesn't impact, especially playing straight away this week in the Grand Prix. That it doesn't affect his game.
It's a very tight turnaround, isn't it? Like, Ronnie literally getting up the next morning after lifting the trophy and he's back out there to Leicester. It must be. I mean, Ronnie keeps talking about how he wants to play less and he needs to sort of rest up a bit. And do you think that press conferences like this suggests that he's like not quite, that he's mentally getting tired of it, or you wonder where it comes from a bit?
I think there's certainly a huge. People don't realise that winning these big events, it might not look it to Ronnie the way sometimes he treats it so easily and the way he acts. But I mean, it does take a lot out of you mentally. Both players would have been mentally exhausted after that week, and sometimes sometimes you get asked questions in the press conference straight after, and you're still. I mean, I've had it myself. You basically go in a press conference, you're still raging after losing, and you get asked a question, and you react differently than you might have done if you'd waited half an hour to do the press conference. Yeah. So obviously things were still pretty raw for both players. But I mean, as I say, they've got to start again this week. I mean, it'd be obviously the next time if they ever play each other, it's going to be spicy. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, the snooker community will be holding its breath if they meet in the draw anytime soon. As for Leicester, we'll just have to hope there aren't too many bins around because that upset Ronnie apparently. It's been added to the list of things he doesn't like to see of any. What else did we learn about players that might be contenders in the second half of the season, do you reckon?
I mean, Judd was very disappointing, as he was last year in the Masters, and he won it. He said himself at the end he couldn't believe he won it. He thought it was like a cat with 9 lives. This year again, pretty disappointing. Neil Robertson still not playing well. Mark Selby was very poor against Mark Allen, even after going 4-1 ahead. I kind of think who's going to put it up to Ronnie at the World? Who's going to stand up to him? And I'm struggling to find names.
Yeah, as I said, I was at the Allen Selby game, and it was even at 3-4-1 up. He didn't really look himself a lot of the time. I thought Selby. They were both made quite a few mistakes in the. It wasn't a huge surprise at the way that Allen came back somehow, because he just Selby didn't. It's interesting being there live as well. You can sometimes just there's like tiny little indicators, like Selby's body language was just looked a bit off. He looked a bit.
Okay.
He didn't quite look. They're only tiny things, but. At 3-1 down, 4-1 down, Allen still looked really on it. He looked. I mean, he might have been thinking about his 147 and the money he might make at the Cruise Plus Push. But yeah, he looked. Somehow Allen just seemed like he dug deep and found an extra mental gear. We'll chat to him about it because he's on. Yeah, well, we'll see. Basically, the conclusion at the end of the tournament is the same conclusion as usual, which is it's almost impossible to beat Ronnie.
Well, I mean. It seems to be at the minute when he wants to turn up and win, he generally does, and that's the thing. How many tournaments he's going to play between now and the Crucible, who knows? So if he doesn't play in everything, he's going to be fresh as well. So yeah, it's going to take a hell of a performance from someone to beat him.
He's now won the Masters, which is a step towards the season slam, and if he did do that, he'd have 8 of each of the Triple Crown events.
Yeah.
It feels quite neat. Do you think he's obviously got it in him. Do you think he will do it? I suppose is the question.
I've got a feeling he will. It almost feels like destiny, doesn't it? The way it's going, the way the UK getting the 8th, the Masters in the 8th, and it just feels like it's just in line to happen. So yeah, as I say, I at this point in time, I don't see who's going to stop him at the World, unless Ronnie. The biggest danger to Ronnie at the World could be himself rather than another player. So yeah, I tend to think that he's going to do it.
He said before that he feels like he runs out of gas because the tournament is so long, and you're in Sheffield for so long. So you feel like if someone could beat him early doors, maybe that's the only chance.
That's probably when he's going to be the most vulnerable. Yeah. For first round maybe.
If he gets bedded in, then we're in for Well, let's see. Let's watch that season slam unfold.